Hi folks, and welcome back to West Yorkshire Retro Gamer. It's match preview and prediction time. This preview is coming out a little bit late because Leeds do actually have an early kick-off tomorrow against Tottenham Hotspur. It's going to be a lunchtime kick-off, so this is out a little bit late. Not stupidly late, just not as early as it could have been. Anyway, better to have it than not. So let's get straight into it then. Pretty straightforward as far as Leeds United are concerned. I think that they will go with an unchanged first 11. Lucas Perry is back in training, but he ain't going to be fully fit for a little bit just yet. Jaden Bogle and Gabriel Gudmundsson have been really good at fullback. There's no reason for them to come out. And obviously Caldalo stays in goal with Lucas Perry, having recently been unavailable. Jaden Bogle came through the last match fine after he'd had that knock to the foot on the previous match, so yeah, shouldn't be any issues at fullback at all. Nothing to report with Joe Rodon or Pascal Straug either. They're both fit at the minute. Ethan Ampadu seems to have put his injuries from last season behind him. He's fully fit at the minute. Brendan Aronson continues to cover for the likes of Daniel James and Wilfred Nanto. So I think that Brendan will keep his place at right wing. There is currently no reason at all to drop Sean Longstaff or Anton Stark. Both are playing really well at the minute, so they will partner Ethan Ampadu in the three-man midfield. Left wing, Noah Okafor seems to be getting better every time. He's looking a really good player as well. And again, with us having two of our wingers injured, there's no reason to think that Noah Okafor will be dropped. And so, yeah, I think it's an unchanged side for Leeds. Very straightforward. The only slight difference might be maybe one or two on the bench. I think a couple of players will keep their place on the bench. If I was to estimate a bench, possibly, I think he probably goes with Ilimillier as the backup goalkeeper. He usually goes with two of each then after that, so he'll probably go two defenders are probably going to be a fullback and a centre-back, so he'll probably go with James Justin over Sam Byram. He'll go. I think at goalkeeper-wise, he'll go with Ilimillier over Alex Cairns, unless he thinks that Lucas Perry is fit enough to get back on the bench, which I doubt. I think the fullback he'll go with James Justin, but Sam Byram is available as well if he chooses to go down that route. Centre-back wise, Jacobiol likely to be the first choice on there, with Sebastian Bornau as another option. Midfielders, so a bit difficult with the wing situation, so obviously Jack Harrison's going to be the wing option. And then midfield, I mean, it's a toss-up between Tanaka and Ilya Gruev as far as Daniel Farke's concerned. Probably got Tanaka over Gruev, I would think. And then up front, obviously Lucas Metcher has kept his place on the bench recently. And then you got the likes of Joel Piroux and Harry Gray's been sniffing around the first team, but Harry Gray's got an injury at this moment in time, so I doubt that Harry Gray will get the opportunity to play against his brother Archie Gray, who obviously left to go to Tottenham. So yeah, those are the options for the bench. I think even the bench will be relatively unchanged, quite frankly. The way that Leeds have been playing in recent matches, there's not really reason to change things up because they're not playing 2 games a week like they did in the Championship. Right now, as things currently stand, it is 1 game a week. So the players have got that opportunity to get that little bit of rest in between training sessions. Which obviously helps to a degree, at least. So let's have a look at the Tottenham Hotspur lineup. Difficult to judge this one because the players that have played the most, there doesn't seem to be any natural wingers in there. There's a lot of midfielders and all this kind of thing. So I don't know whether this lineup's likely. I think there could be 1 or 2 differences to this lineup. But again, like I did with the Bournemouth one, when I previewed that one, I've just gone with the 11 players that have played the most this season so far. I don't know what their injury status is. I know they've got some players injured, but I'm just not sure who. So in terms of who's played the most so far, Guglielmo Vicario has been their regular goalkeeper. I think they signed him just before Hugo Lloris moved on. They kind of bled him in for a season and then he got first choice thereafter. I think he's kept it since. Pedro Porro's been there a couple of seasons now. Jed Spence had a very unremarkable short loan spell at Leeds United and has somehow forced his way in, back into the Tottenham team and has played quite frequently so far. Christian Romero's been there a little while as well now. Nicky van der Ven, he's not been there quite as long, I don't think. But those 2 have played the most this season in terms of centre-backs. Former Fulham midfielder João Palhinha, he's played quite a bit. I think he had a brief spell at Bayern Munich, but he's come back to the Premier League. Papi Sarr and Lucas Bergvall, they complete most of the midfield pretty much. It's so hard to judge. I don't watch Tottenham Hotspur, so I haven't got a clue, have I really? Rodrigo Bentancur, he's been there a little while as well now. New signing from West Ham, Ahmed Kudus. I think he started quite well for him, so I think he'll probably play. And then they've got the former Everton striker who's been at Tottenham a while now, Richarlison de Andrade. He's still at Tottenham Hotspur at the moment, so chances are he'll play. Probably lead the line. Whether he's a natural 9 or more of a 10, I think it's debatable. He does blow a bit hot and cold in terms of his GNA. But he's had a decent start to the season, to be fair to him, so we'll see what happens. So on paper, and we know football's not played on paper, it's played on grass, but on paper, you got to say that Tottenham Hotspur are the favourites. Obviously, being in the Premier League all the time, I think them and Everton and Manure and Liverpool, I think they're the only teams that have not been relegated from the Premier League at least once. Could be wrong on that one. Well, they're the ones that have been in from the start since the Premier League were formed in 92-93 and haven't been relegated. I think they're the only ones. I could be wrong. Or Chelsea as well. I mean, I've got the table here, so let's just go down it now. So Liverpool haven't, Arsenal haven't, so that's 2. Tottenham haven't. Chelsea haven't. Everton haven't. Manure haven't. And that's it, yeah. So there's only 6 ever presents now. Christ. Yeah. I mean, it'd be nice if those 6 got relegated at some point, just to, you could say that every team has had at least one season outside of the Premier League. So, talking of the Premier League, where are Leeds and Tottenham right now? let's start with Leeds, as they are the home team playing at Ellen Road. They are currently in 12th position. Bournemouth beat Fulham, didn't they, tonight? So that's the only match that's occurred out of match week 7 so far. So that puts Bournemouth second in the bloody league, Jesus. And when you consider that Leeds got a very creditable draw and almost beat Bournemouth in the last match, and then when you think to Leeds versus Fulham that one probably should have been a draw. It's the match between the two teams where Leeds have ended up dropping points, in stoppage time at the end of the match, and Bournemouth have come up on top of that one. I think they beat Fulham 3-1 in the end. So that boosts Bournemouth up to the dizzy heights of second, but obviously everyone else bar Fulham has got to play, and it has Fulham in 11th currently. So with Leeds, played 6 games, and they've got 2 of every flavour of results so far. 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses. The 2 wins came, one of them was the first game of the season against Everton, a 1-0 victory with a Mecha penalty. Sealed the 3 points in that one, and then a good win away at Wolves at Molineux, where Leeds beat Wolves 3-1. Wolverhampton Wanderers really struggling this season, only 1 point on the board so far. As far as the draws are concerned, we've got a very creditable 0-0 draw against Newcastle United. That was quite good in the scheme of things at the time. And then the other draw came obviously recently against Bournemouth. I just had a memory block there for a minute, thinking where did the other draw come from? But should have been 2-1 to Leeds in the end, that one. But again, was it a defensive lapse? I don't know. It's annoying, is what it was. But ultimately, before a ball had been kicked, you'd have taken a draw against Bournemouth due to the start Bournemouth have had. But in the context of it all, Leeds being 2-1 up with only a few minutes remaining, you really should be showing some game management and holding on. Either way, it's another point closer to survival. As far as the 2 losses are concerned, one of them's a walloping against Arsenal 5-0 that we don't talk about in any detail anymore, at least. That was about second match at season. Leeds hadn't really had a chance to really implement their ideas and integrate the new players or anything, so it was a bit of a walloping. And then the other loss came very late on against Fulham, which, as I say, should have been a draw. Should have been a draw in the end. That one of the freakiest own goals you'll ever see, coming off a player that has actually been extremely good for Leeds so far in Gabby Goodmanson. I mean, and that hurt Gabriel and all. He you could see he was really down at end of match. Had to be consoled by a few people, including the manager Daniel Farke. But when you look at the season as a whole so far for Gabriel Goodmanson, he looks an absolute steal at 10 to 11 million quid. He really does. Very good left back, Sweden international. We need to keep him fit for the entire season. We really do. Really good player. More than adequate replacement for Junior Firpo. Absolutely. And as I say, up to now, probably our best new signing. I really rate him. Really rate him. As far as that's concerned, shouldn't have really lost against Fulham. So we should be 3 points better off than what we are. So that would have us on 11 points, which would put us up to the dizzy heights of 7th currently, if we had those points on the board. However, it is what it is. We're in 12th. We're not in any threat of relegation at this point, and I'm really liking what we've done so far. As I say, I mean, let's look at it another way. If we keep this form up, and I did a video on this actually, I said could Leeds potentially keep the current form up for the remainder of the season, looking at everything in blocks of 6, and could Leeds end up getting 2 wins, 2 draws and 2 losses every 6 games. I mean, if Leeds were to do that, I'm certain they'd stay up. Obviously, there's 38 games in a season, so I gave Leeds an extra win and an extra draw in the final block of what ended up being a final block of 8 as opposed to 6. But I'm certain with that kind of form, Leeds would stay up. I'm sure that'd be enough points. I'm not going to do the maths now. Maths was never my strong point. So scored 6, conceded 9, but again, if you put it in context, we've scored 5. It's a bit of a funny one. We've scored 5 of our 6 goals in the last 2 games, and obviously had a little bit of a barren spell between game 1 and obviously 2 games ago. And then obviously with the 9 conceded, 5 of them were conceded against Arsenal in one match. So again, a little bit of context there. So, in terms of current form, Leeds are in good scoring form, have conceded a couple, having gone through those matches where we didn't hardly concede anything. But at least we are finding some scoring form now, which is really good. 5 goals in the last 2 games is very decent indeed. And, okay, you could argue that within those 2 games, we've conceded 3. But I guess to score some, you sometimes concede some as well. So it's a bit of give and take there. This obviously puts Leeds on a -3 goal difference at the moment. I'm very hopeful that we will get into a positive goal difference in the next few games. This is as long as Tottenham don't wallop us in this particular match, because I believe we've definitely got Burnley straight after Tottenham. We might have West Ham after that. I know West Ham's just got himself a new manager, but will he have implemented his ways and his style and his tactics enough by then? I still see it as a winnable game for Leeds, that one, if it is West Ham after Burnley. I can't quite remember. But either way, a couple of opportunities for Leeds to maybe get rid of that negative goal difference and put it into a positive, or at least break even on a 0. That would be equally nice. And as it clearly shows there, Leeds on 8 points, and the form of the last 5 games shows as loss, draw, loss, win, draw. Take that how you want to. It's been a fairly even spread throughout the season, really. But I do think we look quite good. I really do. There's a defensive solidarity, if you like, that's really impressive. And we don't, I do worry a little bit about defending set pieces, but defending goals from open play, I think we're all right. I think generally speaking, we've been all right defending from open play. Thomas Frank, the Spurs manager, has even mentioned that. He said that in his press conference, apparently, regarding his thoughts on facing Leeds. He mentioned that he rates Leeds in terms of how they defend open play. So, that's something that Leeds have been very good at so far this season. So, if we can just tighten up a little bit at defending set pieces, we've brought in these physical players that are all over 6 foot. They need to show that physicality. You don't have to foul the opposition. Just be stronger. Just be stronger in your aerial duels, your battles. If balls coming towards the box, get rid of it. Get it out of there. And get it back into the opposition half. The opponents aren't going to score from their own half, are they? So boom, get it out of there. You can sacrifice a little bit of style if you gain a little bit of substance. It doesn't necessarily matter how you get that ball away from your own goal, as long as you get it away. So yeah, we'll see how this pans out. This is not going to be an easy game. Tottenham. If we have a look at their form, they currently sit fifth, and they've got a 3-2. It's not a formation 3-2-1. It is literally their wins, draws, and losses. 3 wins, 2 draws, 1 loss. They've scored a lot. Scored 11 goals so far, and they're pretty tight defensively. They've only conceded 4. So have a very healthy +7 goal difference as things stand. Currently on 11 points, which technically is what Leeds should be on if the footballing stars had aligned. The loss came a little while ago, but in terms of their form, they're currently draw. It's win loss win draw. So they haven't experienced a nice juicy win for a little while, and I just wonder if maybe that might just play into things a little bit, because they also got a draw when they played against Bodo Glimt in the European competition as well, so they're starting to be a little draw heavy in recent form. Now, would I take a draw against Spurs? Yeah, I think so. Before a ball's been kicked, I'd definitely take a draw against Spurs, because you'd expect Spurs to be up, to be up and around, one of those European places. You'd expect it. They finished 17th last season, but they got Postecoglou in charge at the time, and he's proving to struggle in the Premier League, because he's taken over Forest now, and he ain't any better there. Ironically, Forest are now 17th, and that's not all Postecoglou's fault. He's only been there a couple of games, but the last success that Postecoglou had, aside from winning, he won a cup. By beating Manure, which ironically also finished very low down. They finished about 15th in the end last season, with Spurs 17th, and despite that, Postecoglou really is, he was very successful managing Glasgow Celtic, but there's every chance that I could be successful managing Glasgow Celtic. They are comfortable with the best team in Scotland, and obviously the richest team in Scotland, so they've got all the resources to be the best in Scotland. So, Spurs are a different prospect under Thomas Frank, who's obviously the former Brentford manager, and again, he's not had a lot of time to implement his own style yet, but you can't ignore the start they've had. It's much improved. And this will be a very difficult match. A little bit like the Arsenal match, this one could be not necessarily a free hit, but it could be one that most people will expect Leeds to lose it. But I think now that a little bit of time has passed since having that heavy walloping, Leeds have become more solid. They've gotten used to the players that haven't played in the Premier League before. They're starting to get used to playing in the Premier League, and that counts for a lot, in my opinion. I think as the season goes on, Leeds are just going to get stronger. They're going to be more adaptable. They're going to get used to the division more, and by the time we've played everyone once, so after what is it? 19 games, isn't it? A 38 game season, yeah. So after they've played everyone once. No. Am I talking rubbish here? No, it's 38 games. Yeah, so 19. Yeah. So once they've played everyone once, I think by that point, I think Leeds will be stronger, physically, mentally. Everything's going to be ticking along by that point. And once we have played against everybody, then it all flips around and we play everyone again. And I guess it'll just be a case of how strong can Leeds be at Ellen Road. We're very very good at home, and have been for some time. All right, a lot of that we're in Championship, but momentum carries over regardless of your division. Look at Luton Town. Their momentum took them all the way down to League One. So on the flip side, Leeds have been very solid, been very successful at Ellen Road in recent times, and even though it's a small sample size, we haven't lost a match at Ellen Road this season just yet. So long may this continue. Leeds' attendances have been good, very close to capacity every time, and there's always talk of Leeds getting a nice juicy expansion to the capacity at Ellen Road to go from around 37,000 up to around 53,000, which would be amazing. As long as the design of it keeps that intimidating atmosphere, I mean, Ellen Road's going to be absolutely rocking once they start getting over 50,000 every week, isn't it? It's going to be brilliant. I honestly think if Ellen Road was 100,000, it'd get filled every week. I don't know why. I just got this weird feeling that if it were doable, I just think that it'd be packed. There's people crying out to get tickets. Myself included when I've got money. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Obviously, Tottenham have got their shiny new stadium that they've been in for a few seasons now after leaving White Hart Lane. This should be a good match. Leeds don't have a great record in lunchtime kickoffs though, so Leeds are going to have to get over this issue. At least it is at home. At least they're not having to travel, which is obviously helpful. But it is a ball ache that Leeds, for some weird reason, can't seem to get over this idea of struggling in kickoffs any earlier than a 3 o'clock kickoff. So Leeds have got to overcome this at some point, and what better time to do it than now? So yeah, score prediction. I've got two scores in my head. One coming from the head, one coming from the heart. The one from the heart's a 2-1 win. I think the score from my head is probably like a 1-1 draw. Again, as long as we don't lose it, like before a ball's been kicked. For me, a draw would be a very good result. When you consider the opposition. Before a ball had been kicked, I would have taken a draw against Bournemouth. But with the way we played and the fact that we were 2-1 up with mere seconds to go, let alone minutes, it's disappointing. It felt disappointing to drop 2 points there and only draw. But again, it's all in context. Before a ball's been kicked after the final whistle goes, isn't it? A lot of the time it can be two very different feelings. But, if in terms of the long haul you look at Tottenham Hotspur over the last few seasons, the fact that we are a newly promoted team, we would obviously take a draw before a ball's been kicked. And with the current statistics showing on the Premier League table there. But, if Leeds play really well, why should we not expect to beat them? The team's looking good. There's no reason for Daniel Farke to make changes unless any injuries crop up, and I don't think there's any more injuries than what we've already talked about. So, yeah, I wouldn't say I'm confident, and I wouldn't, I'm not confident Leeds will get a result here, but I'm confident that they will give a very good account of themselves. As I say, hopefully we just get enough. Like Wolves drew against them. Their last match was a draw against Wolves, and we beat Wolves 3-1. So, maybe that gives us a chance. On paper, which I don't like using that phrase because obviously, for reasons I've mentioned already. But just for me, I feel like this really this will be a good marker. Let's see where Leeds are at this moment in time. Can we hang with one of the big boys? That's what we're going to find out. I'll leave it there, folks. Big thank you for watching. Do please give the video a like. Do please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. The support really is appreciated. I really want to get to 200 subscribers as soon as possible. It'd be a nice little milestone to reach. So, with all that being said, folks, enjoy the match tomorrow if you can. Put your score predictions in the comments down below. And do you think that these lineups are particularly accurate, or do you think there might be some changes? Do please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the match tomorrow. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.